All right, we are live here at SOS. We're going to go over some basic stability and mobility work for the shoulder. I kind of lump them into two because a lot of the positions that we're going to be using, arm bars, crooked arm bars, are fantastic for sort of both, but there are some nuances that we need to dive into. So first, let's talk about one thing. Kettlebell arm bar, fantastic exercise. A lot of people say, oh, it fixes shoulders. Well, yeah, it's nice. It'll help with overall shoulder health. It will help with mobility, stability, etc. But we need to dive in just a little bit deeper. So first thing we need to understand is that once we get into the position for the arm bar, there's two ways that we can approach it. So if our goal is to create stability in the shoulder, okay, to get some nice reactive firing in the cuff, etc., we can't be over gripping, okay? One of the biggest mistakes people make in trying to create actual reactive or reflexive stability in the shoulder is to over grip. And if you start doing that, it's not gonna go so well, okay? Because what's gonna happen is you're gonna kick in your lat and you're gonna kick in a whole bunch of other things. The prime movers are gonna kind of override the stabilizers and it's not gonna be successful, okay? That's a great strategy to improve mobility in the shoulder, and we're gonna dive into that, but they are different. So just remember, when you're attacking mobility in the arm bar, we're talking about holding the kettlebell, not over gripping. We're talking about the positioning of the thoracic spine, the scapula, and the rib cage. All of those things need to work together, and we're going to dive right into the arm bar from a stability standpoint, all right? So first thing, guys, if you're not used to a kettlebell arm bar or training with kettlebells, don't do this stuff. Not a good idea. So I'm going to give you two angles, and then we'll go from there. So the first thing is, obviously, make sure that when you're gripping the kettlebell, you've got a straight wrist. You want to make sure that you're not going into wrist extension or flexion. So the second thing we're going to go into is just the setup here. So hands through, cradle, and then come on up. Now, we're going to be up, and I'm going to show this from different angles, okay? The first thing we want to make sure is that we're vertical, okay? Now, once we get into the arm bar for mobility purposes, we're going to go into that sideline position and then go here. All right, I'm going to face the camera so you guys can see what we're talking about. Now, once I'm here and we're stacked, we want to make sure that we're not shrugging our shoulder. We're obviously not in too much scapular depression, but we're just stacked in that position, okay? And we can't be over gripping. One of the, again, biggest mistakes I see is kicking in the neck and over gripping, trying to bring your bicep and lat to it. If our goal is stability, we want to find a nice vertical position and just try to hang out there. When I say I ungrip, I'm not actually letting go of my grip, but I'm having a very loose grip. I'm still having a straight wrist. And all we're going to do is hang out here. Now, I'm trying to almost relax and let the stabilizers eventually kick in. Now, this is a 12 kilo kettlebell, right? If we want to get a little bit of firing, what I'll do is I'll actually bring the kettlebell a little bit forward and then just try to make sure I catch it. And same thing, bringing it back, kind of going what I call north, south, east, west, kind of going all various little positions. You can do little circles here. And what we're trying to do is create those small perturbations to get some nice firing of that cuff, okay? So, and then we're going to go from there. Another way you can progress this is just by closing your eyes. If we take out the visual component, we rely more on the proprioceptive system, okay? So if you just close your eyes and do the same progression, you're going to get a whole different sensation, okay? And the same thing goes for a full arm bar once we add in hip rotations, okay? So obviously, as we go and we bring our hip downward, we're going to mob the T-spine a little bit more. Obviously, we're going to demand more of the shoulder, but the same thing is we can't over grip. That's the big thing. Don't over grip it. Find the positioning and then go from there. You can do a little bit of supination, some slight pronation, okay, but never move into pain. So that's your basic arm power progression. My shoulder's on fire at this point. But you can go from there. So remember, that arm bar variation is more for stability. Now, if we're looking to open up our shoulders, we can do the arm bar in a very, very different fashion. You can tend to go a little bit heavier. This is a 12 kilo, but if you're trying to create a little bit more mobility in the shoulder, you can go a little bit heavier, and we're gonna talk about that strategy. So same idea, we grip it, boom. Now, I'm gonna bring a little extra juice. I'm gonna be here, and I'm really gonna try to lock the shoulder down and let the kettlebell float away from me. That's a great way to open up the pec, open up the anterior shoulder. But it is different. Again, look, I'm gonna bring it this way. Come forward, step through. I lock the shoulder down, I utilize grip,
I drive the shoulder blades back to protect the shoulder, and then I let it lightly fall back and mold the interior part of the shoulder. So yes, it's a kettlebell arm bar, but it's a variation to improve overall shoulder mobility, okay? So two very different things, but hopefully you get the idea. The next thing we're gonna talk about is the crooked arm bar. And the crooked arm bar is a mobility strategy for the shoulder girdle, okay? It's great for obviously opening up the interior shoulder, but it's just one of those exercises that if your goal is to do some windmills and some bent presses, the crooked arm bar seems to be a really good prerequisite. And we're gonna talk about that quickly. So now this is pretty advanced, it's a huge stretch. So again, guys, if you're not used to this stuff, don't do it. So with the crooked arm bar, we're gonna come on up, we're gonna go into that position. Now, I like to supinate first and then drive the elbow down towards the ribs to create that shelf on the lap. Okay, we're gonna be here, all right? And then from this position, I actually do some more supination and breathe. So I'm gonna come out of this so you guys can see it from a different angle. Yeah, we'll go from here. So we're gonna come on up, we're here, crooked arm bar, little supination, and then boom, come back down. From here, breathing. Breathing is going to be the best thing we can do. And this little thing I'm gonna do here to show you guys, I would recommend it, but look, the elbow is gonna come down by the ribs. We're gonna supinate and breathe. Now when we do this, we wanna make sure we're not flaring our ribs too much and not overextending in the lumbar spine. So this is the crooked arm bar, boom, and you can do some breathing from this position. And that's just gonna drop down. Now for a lot of people, I've had a couple clients that I've tried to show them the crooked arm bar, and they say to me, I feel like I'm catching something on the way down, okay? And we're gonna talk about how to fix that. We're actually gonna do the crooked arm bar from the bottoms up position. All right, so check this out. We're gonna get set up. Now we're gonna go into a floor press position, okay? We're gonna supinate, we're gonna pack the shoulder and externally rotate. I'm gonna basically, I say hip out, it's kind of like a BJJ term, but I'm gonna hip out and I'm gonna start to go cross body. I'm gonna drive the shoulder down and I'm gonna get a nice big stretch. This is a very, very light kettlebell. And then once I get here, I start to roll and it's gonna pop off the ground. And that's how I can start to utilize the crooked arm bar from the bottom position, okay? So it just depends on the positioning that you're looking for and comfort, etc. So that's the crooked arm bar progression. And then lastly, I'll show you one of my favorite ways to warm up. And this is a combination of like a crooked arm bar and a great opener for the kind of posterior chain for specifically hamstrings, calves, etc. So I'll show you from this angle. We're here, okay? So we bring the same side up and we take this hand and hook it through. Okay, that's just to create some stability in the lumbar spine so we don't get any rotation. Now as we come across, we keep the shoulder down to mold that shoulder, and then from here, bring this up out wide and extend, and then reach. Tuck the knee in, extend, and then reach. And I'll show you from this position, guys. So look, we're here, floor press position, come on up, hook, come across, and keep this leg straight. And as I tuck the knee into the hip into flexion, I go to extend out. Boom, reach, and then stretch. Reach, and then stretch. So some simple little progressions that you guys can put together, but these have been great for a lot of my clients that have had shoulder issues. They've had a little bit of time with the kettlebell and they understand the progression. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. And get some insight on the positions and the progressions, etc. So hopefully you guys get something out of that. Share away. Appreciate the support, guys, and have a fantastic day.